talk to. We wanna welcome you to SAZETU. Let's talk to. This show's alive because of SAZETU.
SAZETU is brought to you by Maine Spirits. Learn more about the delicious spirits they import into the great state of Maine and the cocktails you can make with them at mainspirits.com or by downloading their app for your smartphone or visiting them on Instagram at Maine_spirits. Promotional consideration by State Theater Portland. Visit statetheaterportland.com for an up-to-date schedule of virtual events and upcoming announcements as we get closer to normalcy. And Sun Tiki Studios, a top-notch rehearsal and performance facility located on Forest Avenue in Portland, Maine. Learn more at suntikistudios.com.
Welcome to Happy Hour, brought to you by Maine Spirits. On Happy Hour, we try to show you at home how to make drinks in the comfort of your home, because that's where you are, probably, when you're making drinks at home, unless you're a bartender, in which case you have no use for the show at all. This week, Nana wrote me and asked me what she could do with her bottle of limoncello. What is limoncello, you might be asking? Well, it's an Italian liqueur made with a kind of a grain, alcohol, usually grappa or vodka, and you soak the zests of lemons in that and sugar and water. And it extracts all the lemony flavor, and it's sugary and tart and sweet. It tastes like a lollipop, but it's boozy. A lemon lollipop, or like a lemon drop. Speaking of lemon drop, I need to make a drink for Nana using limoncello. Now, it can't be too complex, because if it is, she'll be like, fuck this, I'm not making this drink. And I don't want to do that for Nana. I don't want that for us. She doesn't need it. She deserves better. So out of respect for Nana and you, we are going to learn how to make a limoncello lemon drop martini. Let's get this drink together. In a shaker full of ice, please add the following: 2 ounces of vodka and 1 ounce of limoncello. Now stir until cold and strain into a martini glass rimmed with both a mix of both sugar and salt. Now garnish it with a lemon twist. Take a sip. Is this my kind of drink? Well, frankly, if you're a listener, you'll know no, it is not. But this isn't for me. This is for Nana, and this is lemon drop. I will admit, though, it is delicious and refreshing, and the mix of salt and sugar kind of balances it out even a little bit more. This has been Happy Hour, brought to you by Maine Spirits. You can learn more about this drink and many other drinks at mainspirits.com. You can download their app for your smartphone, which is a smart move because it's a wealth of information: what to get, where to get it, and what to do with it once you get it. You can also follow them on Instagram at Maine_spirits, or you can follow their YouTube page, where you can find videos based upon this drink and all the other drinks that people write me about. But no matter what you're watching, where you're watching it, how you follow these people, please drink deliciously and responsibly. Okay, showtime. Gigs are back, baby.
Gigs are back.
Live music is back.
And it's coming for you. Look out.
Baby.
And that's how we're going to promote all of the gigs from now on. So get used to that, too.
Yeah.
Baby.
Are you ready for live music again? Baby. So here's
Actually,
what happened.
You know what? I was ready for live
ahead.
music, and now I'm not. So,
yeah.
Sorry.
Well, I mean, so we had a bit of a pandemic, which you may have noticed.
Wait, like recently?
So, yeah, the past year. I know that you thought that you were moving home because you're trying to lay low until that the heat cooled down after your last job.
So I was just trying to duck the man. I didn't realize there was a pandemic going on.
Right. So meanwhile, the rest of us are dealing with a pandemic. In this time,
imagine that.
Many people might remember that it was like live streams and then donations and Venmos and like, oh my God, like our, people are very kind to musicians and all that stuff. And like, can't wait for live music. And last summer, there was like this kind of like, everyone had to like stretch a condom over their head and go to like stand in a football field 90 feet from somebody else to enjoy a show. And the band's, in another zip code. And so, which is, something over nothing, right?
Absolutely.
But now we're kind of back. So we're back. So what had happened this past weekend, if you're listening, Monday, I mean, you're current. The dust is settling off of this trip. I was invited to play in Burlington with my friends Dwight and Nicole. Dwight and Nicole, you should check them out. They're on all the streamies. They're a band that I met through a friend. I met them personally first, and then I came home and I listened to their music, and I was like, wait, these people are nice, and they're an awesome band. And they asked me a while ago, like a month ago anyway, like, hey, we're playing this show in Burlington, Discover Jazz Fest. It's like a big Burlington tradition. Would you like to play with us? I'm like, double, like all the yeses. Like, you know, where do you need me? When do you need me there? Because that's very flattering to have like anybody ask you to play on their stuff, because that means that they like you, which is nice. But also, especially artists whose music you really admire, sincerely, and I do. I love that band. So, a lot of nerves bundled up there. A lot of good feelings. It was great. Like, gonna go play a show. But man, that was a loaded burrito, and I brought Jones along for the ride. I was like, "You want to roll with?" He's like, "Def," and because that's how we talk.
That's
actually,
right.
That is how we talk sometimes.
Def.
Word. Yeah, word. Heard. And yeah, so we rolled up to Burlington. Lovely town, Burlington, New Hampshire. Hotter than Satan's nuts on a waffle iron, though.
Yeah. I felt like
holy crap.
We got in the car in Maine, and when we got out, I thought we were in Louisiana. It's just so much humidity and heat.
Ugh. You're just wet.
Yeah.
In fact, here we are. We're sitting recording remotely because like I legit like pulled into York, you know, opened the door. Jonesy jumped out. I beetled up to Portland, like, you know, we're fresh off the road.
That's right.
On the road again. Baby.
I can still feel the highway moving below my feet. Whatever.
I still got sea legs.
That's right.
For being on the road, baby. But yeah, so I brought up all this stuff with like the you know, the pandemic horseshit, because when you like an ex, you know, let's say you were in a relationship with somebody, it doesn't go well, some time, like, you know, sets you apart. And then after a while, you tend to only maybe, you know, as long as it wasn't like a disaster relationship, you romanticize the good parts. You start looking at it with rose-colored glasses. And I think that may be what has happened with live music, because I can tell you right now, from a playing, because Jones was just like, you know, like a, you know, wingman, running defense,
yeah,
vibe guy, hanging
exactly.
out, dude.
Tag
awesome.
along, part-time roadie. Yeah, vibe.
Yeah, and thank you, by the way, for all the help. You were very helpful.
And it was such a blast to go to a thing and do a thing with people.
Right. And I was all excited about that. But what we found, and we were all kind of debriefing this morning, and by debriefing, I mean we all stood on Dwight and Nicole's porch and removed our underwear, our briefs. Yeah. And so as we were debriefing, we were also talking about the show yesterday, and we were noting how that show, within one concert experience, we had all of the potential highs and lows one could expect from a show experience. It's like, oh, right, this shit's fucking hard. But also, like, there were the great moments too. Like when we were playing and connecting, it was really great. But there was also a bunch of other shit, and so I think we'd like to talk to you about what it's like to go set up for a show. How's that sound, Jones?
Sounds exciting. I look forward to this talk.
Is it? Does it? So I picked Jonesy up at, I was running a little bit late, so I picked him up at 11:30 after having loaded my gear into the whip. My gear, I'm a keyboard player. It's not the lightest gear. It's not the biggest rig I've had. I used to have the biggest rig ever, but it's still extremely heavy. And not only heavy, but a combination of heavy, rare, and expensive. So, which is not ideal, like some antique stuff. So you have to be careful. It's like, luckily everything's in cases, but suffice to say, lots of loading. So I load in, go down, pick Jones up. I'm already like sweating. We then drive 3.5 hours because I was driving 1,000,000 miles an hour because I was. And we get to Burlington. It's even hotter there. And then meet up with Dwight and Nicole and then head over to their drummer's practice space, which is a beautiful little room right in downtown Burlington. 2 problems. It's Jazz Fest. There's no parking. So there's that. Problem 2, the rehearsal space is at the top of a long, like, you know that scene in Untouchables where the carriage is going down the stairs? And there's like a shootout. It was like the whole thing. It's not quite that long, but almost that long. But it felt that long.
But there was a carriage with a baby rolling down the stairs for some reason.
Oddly enough.
Yeah.
And what was most confusing is that no one did anything to help that baby. We don't even know what happened to the baby.
I don't know. I mean, it was moving in slow motion, just like the movie, even though we were in regular time.
Actually, I did do one thing to help the baby when it was rolling down the stairs.
Gave it an extra push.
No. I looked at it and said, "Live music's back, baby."
Of course you did.
Yeah,
Because it needed to know.
I think the baby gave me the finger. So we load up, rehearse, and then it occurs to me only in that moment as I'm playing with them. It's been a long time since I have been in anybody else's band, aside from like a sit-in. Like Murcielago was kind enough to give me the rock and roll cred I so desire by asking me to be on their record. And I've played with them, but like that's a sit-in. You know, I've got a handful of tunes. This is the whole set. Like I'm basically in their band. Mm-hmm. And as I mentioned before, I respect this band. I do not want to destroy their show. But they've been playing together as a trio for a long time. And they have things. Let's just say, no, I'll pause on this. It was a lot of stress on my part because I'm like a worrywart and I just wanted to do a good job. But we got through the rehearsal and I was feeling pretty good. I have a hard time with names of people and songs. Names of anything, really. Maybe it's like some form of dyslexia. I just don't know. I just have a really hard time remembering names of things. Like in the instance of people, mm-hmm. Gets me into a bit of trouble here in Portland because I've been here a while because of my line of work and hopefully entertaining large groups of people. I meet a lot of people, and then I have trouble with people out of context, and just names escape me. If it's like all of a sudden like their last name's thrown in, I'm like, oh, I don't even know who that person is. And then I see them, I'm like, oh yeah, we once spent 14 hours on a logging truck, or you know what I mean? Like the experience comes back, but I think some people think that. It's been brought to my attention that some people think that I am, perhaps think that I like don't need to know their name, mm-hmm. or whatever, that kind of vibe. Like, oh, like and that's not
too
the case.
Important.
So,
I don't need to remember your name. You remember my name, and we're good.
Yeah, that thing. But the reality is that I just plain suck with names. I'm just terrible.
Yeah,
and that goes for some.
Same issue. Like, especially playing shows and meeting people at shows, and that generally means that you're at a bar. And there's mm-hmm. been, so it's, lots of faces. Sometimes you're meeting them not completely sober, and then you see them elsewhere, and you're like, okay, is this somebody I know, somebody I should remember, somebody I should, and you feel bad about it, and it's it's my own problem though. Like,
I feel bad every time.
Same.
It makes me feel terrible, like, because one of the biggest fears I have as like a human person is if I hurt someone's feelings. Mm-hmm. And I have hurt people's feelings because I have a propensity historically to be an asshole, you know, and also like even in post-therapy times, like I'm still like super sarcastic. Mm-hmm. But I would, you know, but I include myself in like, you know, the what do you call it? The firing line.
Yeah.
So, but the thought that someone would think that I didn't know their name really, or I didn't care to know their name.
I have pretty much stopped saying nice to meet you unless I'm 100% sure I'm meeting the person for the first time. Because I have had a couple situations where I've said nice to meet you to somebody, and they're like, yeah, we've met like 5 times. And then I just feel like a jerk.
Do you know where I learned that lesson? That very lesson was after you and I played at Webster Theater down in New York. Mm-hmm. And the head of the label was there with the head of Zamba Publishing, who came down to see us, right? Mm-hmm. Who became our publisher. I'm going to say his name is Dan Blackwell. I don't remember. And I was like, he's like, you know, James was like, Spencer, this is Dan. Dan Spencer. I was like, hi, nice to meet you. And Dan goes, actually, we've met twice before. Once was at this location at this time. You were wearing this T-shirt. We had coffee together. The second time was a function. Da-da-da. That's why in this situation, if you're not sure if you've met somebody, you should say, it's nice to see you. That's what I do. I was like, it's nice to see you. Like, oh my God.
I mean, that must be where, because I always say nice to see you as well, again, unless I'm like 100% sure this is a very first time meeting.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's a win every time, because even if you are seeing somebody that you have met a zillion times, it is nice to see them, especially if it's nice to see them.
That's true.
So yeah, so I don't know people's names. I don't know songs' names. I listened to OK Computer a zillion times. I know one of the songs is called Paranoid Android. You know, I know the names of my songs, but I wrote those, you know. Mm-hmm. So Dwight and Nicole's songs, I know the songs. There's some new ones in there I didn't know, but because I know their catalog, I know their vibe, I've seen them live a bunch of times. I understand their sensibility. I can kind of roll with where they're going. Mm-hmm. But, yeah, so this comes into play later. I don't know the names of songs, like, firm. So I'm on my heels. I'm just on my heels. I'm nervous. I want to do a good job. I don't want to destroy my friend's set. And, you know, I'm playing my first gig. The next day, we go back to their house and have a nice hang and a nice basement jam. We pulled out some showstoppers. We did a little Benny and the Jets. We did These Eyes by the Guess Who.
That's right, late in the evening.
Late in the evening, which was performed late in the evening. Yeah. You know, and I would say, when I say we played these songs, I would say we played 45% of them.
Yeah, I mean, some of them we maybe even topped 50%, but just barely.
Yeah. Well, oddly enough, like earlier in the night, we were saying, like, nobody should ever play Ain't No Sunshine, except for Bill Withers. No one should play that. And we're all like, ha, 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 ha. And then what did we close with, like, in our little jam session? Ain't No Sunshine. And we actually did it really well.
Yeah. It made us feel good about the whole endeavor, though.
Yeah, that one we might have actually coasted into like a hot, like, 85%. But yeah, so the next day, you know, just get a little caffeine, and then it's super hot. We're also staying not in a hotel or at our house. We're staying at their house, so you're kind of like under, you know, like when you stay at someone else's house, like they kind of dictate like the flow of the whole thing. Dwight had to play a second show earlier that day. He plays drums in a different band, and you know, they're great hosts. A beautiful home, like it was awesome to be had there. But it was also, you know, you're not at home. And also, this is like my first staying somewhere else that's not a tent in the woods since the top of this mess. And yeah, so just Jones and I were like, should we get some breakfast? Breakfast? And then the next thing you know, Nicole is texting us, wheels up in 10, like, oh, for the gig. Okay, so we really cruised through nap time here. So there was no food for us, and then we're getting dressed, and then we go to the show. The show is in a baseball field in a neighborhood in Burlington. Actually, this sounds like I might be leaning into disparaging territory, but I'm not. It's like actually a good vibe. It's like cool little neighborhood, great place for show. Mm-hmm. There's a flatbed truck for a stage, and if you've performed on a flatbed truck, you'll know what I'm about to say is true. There's not enough depth, there's not enough width on a flatbed truck to constitute like a stage. There's just not. Like, it's just very narrow, and then you end up being in a linear fashion. So I'm like, ooh, there's also no cover, because it's like an outdoor show. It just wasn't like a huge production outdoor show. It was like just a very, it was a very nice outdoor show, but it wasn't like going to like Thompson's Point with like lasers and canopies and all this shit. Basically, what I'm trying to say is, this may come as a surprise to the listener, but we're not as big as like Modest Mouse or Lake Street Dive or St. Vincent. I thought we were, but turns out we're not. One day.
Dreams will come true. Now the gigs are back, baby.
Gigs are back, baby. So we load our gear out, and then you stage it. That means get it ready for the stage. We're now ready with all the gear out to go onto the stage, at which point we look to the northwest, and the skies are menacing. It is hot. It is no surprise to anybody that a thunderstorm may occur, and it turns out that was the case, and it was coming for us. Mm-hmm. So what do? Maybe tuck it under here. Tarps are scarce, a.k.a. there are no tarps. So we pack everything back up, completely put it back in the van. Wait, rain ensues. Luckily, it didn't turn into a shit show. There was not like a lot, so like it flooded the field, and there wasn't thunder and lightning. There was like south of us, but everything's like got wet and whatever. That passes. Then we pull our gear out, set up again, and just have to go get on stage now. We're pushed back at this point an hour. Is that fair, Jones?
Yeah, that's definitely fair.
And the promoters are totally cool. It's promoted by the Flynn Theater in downtown Burlington, which is it's not like the State Theater, but it's not unlike the State Theater.
It's a nice
if you were
theater,
to take
though.
the higher,
I saw Feist there once. It's a good theater.
That's a nice show to see.
Yeah.
If you were to combine Higher Ground and Flynn Theater, which they often work together, like then it kind of becomes more like State Theater here in Portland. And if you're from Portland, you know what I'm talking about. If you don't, State Theater is one of the greatest venues in the world.
That is true.
And it's right here in town. So, the Flynn Theater crew, super nice. The whole crew's super nice. The sound fella, my goodness, he was... I think he thought he was walking into like a super chill gig, but what he found is that it was the Dwight and Nicole situation, which is normally 3 pieces, plus me and my inputs, plus this really cool violin player. Did you see his violin in the custom situation?
I didn't get a close look at it, but I saw that he was had a whole like row of effects he was running it through, and was getting some crazy sounds, and had a very unique style as well.
But it was also it was 6 strings. There were 2 strings on it below.
I did not notice that, but I did.
Yeah.
I could hear him playing notes that sounded like they would be below the range of a regular violin, and I could not figure out how he was doing that. I figured it was effects, but now I know he has extra strings.
It was like a viola violin mashup.
Yeah.
Hence the 6 strings. But that was really cool. But that's another input that the guy didn't know about. And then there were also 2 backing vocalists on the other side of the stage. I'd like to refer back to the point where I said trucks are not wide enough to be a stage. So that meant we were all set up effectively in a line. So you had, I can't remember his name, and I feel bad about it. Well, I already explained why I can't remember it. Violin monster player guy, then me, and then Nicole, in a line, pretty much straight line. Nicole, who plays bass and sings, and I'll also say has a cascading head of hair. Right? Would that fair to say? Like a weeping willow tree. Gorgeous amount of hair.
Yeah.
Right. Flowing. And then Ezra is the next one in line. He's the drummer, so I can see him. That's good. And then behind the lovely Nicole's beautiful cascading head of hair was Dwight, who is kind of like the cue guy. And then over there, I could also see the two back people.
Like gives the cues, not conspiracy
not
theories.
QAnon. No. He is also QAnon conspiracy theory guy. No, he's not. Yeah, so he's the kind of like, the band leader, like the music director, whatever you want to call it. He like starts the tunes, that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. And I couldn't see him, and I don't know these songs. And as you do in a live set, you jump around, but I didn't know where we were, and I don't know the names of songs, and I'm afraid to screw up their set. This is all happening live, and I'm looking at Ezra because that's all I can see. I'm asking Nicole, like, what song are we doing? She's like, I don't know. I'm not sure where he's going. I'm like, okay. And then I remember when we were back at the end of the night, I was joking with the group, and Dwight specifically, I was like, oh, we were talking about like different styles of music in different parts of the country and the world. And I was like, oh yeah, there's this really cool thing that like we picked up like on the road. Like I never like thought of it, but it's like a cool musical style. Like when a lot of people, I would say most people in the nation start a song, they do what's called a count off. It's really cool.
It's caught on like internationally too, I think.
Yeah,
turns
like
out
most people
all
like
across the world now are counting off songs.
It dates back to orchestras, back to the Baroque period. They had a conductor, but like they were laughing, but like they kind of like, I think maybe it was like an extension of their kindness and confidence in what I was bringing to the table, maybe. But they're like, yeah, we just kind of like start the tunes. I'm like, I couldn't see you. Like I was just like. This is not me throwing any shade to them whatsoever. The show actually went off. I mean, you watched it.
Yeah.
I believe you said it was okay.
Yeah, I thought it was more than okay. I mean, obviously, like Dwight and Nicole and Ezra, as you said, have been playing together as a trio for a long time. Like, they play off each other great, and even though he's skipping songs in the set list and starting them without count-offs, like they're right there. And I could tell that you, obviously not being as familiar with the songs, but like it sounded to me like you did your homework, and they were aware of that too. Like in a way, like they weren't worried about you. They weren't like,
right.
And I'm sure that he just gets into a groove when he's on stage, and he's just like, oh, we're going to skip to this song, and doesn't even think about that. But it never went through his head to be like, oh, Spencer might not have this. Like I think you had his confidence,
which is nice.
Yeah. But
terrifying.
Yeah. I mean, but that's the thing. Like somebody like you who is so attentive to the details that, and also wanting to do a good job for the people who hired you to play the gig. Yeah, that is a frightening thing to just be thrown a curveball and then another curveball. But
and it was their first show back too. That's right. Another reason I didn't want it. So now I'm playing a lot of these songs for maybe the third time in front of. With a band, with them in front of people, like a big crowd. So with all the things that were like we're outlined, I don't want to be like Mr. Down in the dumps guy. Like it was a great time. The show was really fun. The crowd was awesome. It felt great to be playing on stage. But it was very.
Sorry to interrupt.
No, please.
But another thing that was great about the show is like as quickly as the rain had come in originally, like when we first unloaded and got your gear ready to be staged, and then all of a sudden like the rain clouds came in out of nowhere. Like as soon as the rain cleared up, the audience came in just as fast as the rain had come in before. Like it went from raining out empty fields to like people ready for a show very, very quickly, which is great.
It was awesome. Yeah. The vibes are good, and they were there to support, and like they sat through. Oh, that was the other thing. The sound person was just like woefully underprepared, and there didn't seem to be any like methodology to like what they were doing. I'm sure that they were dealing with their own shit. You know.
Well,
what I mean?
yeah. Also, working by himself and all of the time that he had set aside for sound check and stuff, we just waited for a rainstorm to pass. So all of a sudden, it went from like I've got hours to get this sorted out to the show's got to start and the audience is here already. Yeah.
And then inevitably, when you have to like you set up and then have to quick breakdown for a rainstorm, like things can become chaotic and confusing, and they certainly were. But at the end of the day, everyone got everything they needed. Yeah, and it sounded great. Like he actually, he mixed the show very well. Awesome.
I mean, without like a proper sound check, there was definitely the thing where during like the first tune, you could hear him bringing up the instruments like one at a time. Mm-hmm. But like, it didn't really like miss anything. It was just like, Dwight would start playing a guitar solo and you couldn't really hear it. And then all of a sudden, there's the guitar and that's where it needs to be for the rest of the show now, and same thing. But yeah, it sounded really good. Like you got it dialed in pretty quickly considering everything that, led up to the show being ready to start in the first place.
Yep. So in as I said earlier in the debrief was like, yes, live music is back. Baby. But that also means that it was just in the great comedy of life, right? This also means that all the crap is back too.
Yeah.
And that got us to talking on the ride home. If you can believe this, Jones and I are friends, bandmates, podcast co-hosts, and also just spent a solid 70 hours together.
That sounds about right. I'm not really a numbers guy, but those numbers seem to check out.
We talked on the ride home too, and now we're talking again. But that got me to thinking. We were talking about, or got us to thinking rather, like just some like miserable show experiences. And you were sharing one on the way home, and it's so dumb that I would like you to, if you wouldn't mind, share that.
Oh, I would love to. So I did a tour with a good friend of mine. He's a singer-songwriter. He's from Louisiana originally. I met him in Los Angeles. I believe he's Austin-based now. Actually, his name is Rod Melanson. I'm not afraid to share his name. I will withhold the name of the venue, even though it's a hilarious name.
Oh, come on. They're not going to hear this. And you're only describing what it is. That's
true. Well, remember I told you when I was telling you the story on the ride home, I was like, I can't remember the name of it, but I remember it was ridiculous. And it occurred to me what it was like pretty shortly afterwards. But I knew that we were going to be talking about it on the show, so I withheld it then and wasn't sure, but I'll go right out and I'll build up to it.
Okay, fine.
And it was even before the tour started, when I first started rehearsing with the band and we got the list of places that we were going to be. There was one show on the itinerary that we were all just like, what is this? And it was Myrtle Beach. The venue name was Suck Bang Blow.
Shut the fuck up.
No, I will not shut the fuck up. That's literally what the place is called. We were like, this has got to be like a typo or a mistake. And
Suck, Bang, Blow?
Yeah, you can Google it right now.
I'm gonna.
We're like, yeah, what is this? And of course, we did Google it because we're like, what is this? Like, who booked this show? And it is a biker bar in Myrtle Beach. And
oh my God.
So yeah, the whole tour, like that was like probably like 3/4 of the way through, and so the whole time we were making our way across the country, we were like, what is this show going to be?
It's got a 4.6 star rating on.
Yeah, well, and also all the pictures on their website are like, girls wrestling in mud and stuff like that. We're like, what is this gig?
Yeah, I'm seeing that as well.
Yeah.
And watering burgers, apps, and more.
Yeah.
What are their food menu? I'm going to check that out their food menu. Carry on.
I recall having a burger or something there. It wasn't bad. It was 4th of July. That was the other thing. Or if it wasn't 4th of July, it was 4th of July weekend because there was like a huge like biker event going on. And that's the other thing. Mm-hmm. It's a biker bar in South Carolina. Mm-hmm. And we roll up and there's this like, Confederate flags like are like part of the logo that are like all over the place. But burly biker dudes in there, and everybody was really nice. Like the sound guy was really nice, like the owner was really nice, but there's just like that vibe of like, this is weird. And it was right after the former president had been inaugurated. And the guy was talking about how they had like the largest bikers rally for the former president. And he was like, "Oh, but you guys are from California. You probably voted for Hillary." And I'm like, no, we don't really get into politics at all.
Oh, was there an election?
Yeah. Would you look at that? So, election happened. So the other thing is, the place is built into this huge warehouse, and the stage is at one end of it, and then there's these big like bay doors on either side of the building, and they painted a road connecting, because there's like, an area to hang out front and park your bikes and stuff, and then there's a huge lot out back where they had like other stuff going on, and they had like a road painted between the two bay doors that was directly in front of the stage.
My God.
So while we were playing, dudes were riding their choppers like through the venue.
In front of you?
Like in front of us during the set. Yeah, exactly.
Oh my God.
And it was like, it was one of those things I just like felt horribly uncomfortable the entire time we were there, even though everybody was really nice. Like, I don't know if this is rude to say, but
yes, I don't want you to disparage Suck Bang Blow.
Yeah.
Not after pandemic. They've suffered enough.
That's right. Yeah, leave them alone. I just have the distinct impression that I was the first non-white man to ever spend an afternoon at that venue.
I believe the line from the car ride earlier was that you said you were the first black man to walk in there, and I might have said and walk out after.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, very much felt that way. And again, everybody was very, very kind, but as soon as the show was over, like van packed, get the check, go.
Get out.
Because things were only getting, it was earlier in the day on a holiday weekend at this biker bar called Suck Bang Blow. So,
dude,
yeah.
With Confederate flags, like, I mean, you've told the story on the show before, like when you were like playing with the country band, and somebody was like, "How do you know this music?"
Yeah. Oh, because I have 2 ears and I listen to it.
No, but how do you know it? Like, what are you fucking talking
exactly.
about? This, I mean.
It's like, I know what you're getting at, buddy. Like,
yeah.
And he actually even said at one point, because I wouldn't acknowledge him on that question, eventually he just goes, "I mean, you ain't white." It's like, yeah, it turns out you can just listen to music no matter what color you are.
That's right. Have you heard of Dr. Dre?
Yeah. Oh, probably not, because, I noticed that you're white.
Cletus, have you heard of Dr. Dre? Yeah, that's fucking gnarly. And I honestly, I don't think I have anything that touches that. I can't think of anything you and I played together that's worse than that. We once loaded into a venue in Brockton, New Hampshire. Nope, Massachusetts, and realized when we got in there that we were being sized up and were very likely to leave. Not in the vehicle that we showed up in, but maybe one with more lights on it, and without our gear. And so we pounded sand there, but nothing like. Oh, actually, that same gig, the tailpipe fell off.
Oh yeah,
on the van, and we got like not carbon monoxide poisoning, but to which point like we were feeling woozy, and it's like, oh, I don't feel so good. Because we had no tailpipe in the van. It's just like the van's like filling with like exhaust smoke, which isn't good. And we pulled into a hotel because it was the first place we could pull into. We went into the lobby. We're like, "Hey, can we use your phone to call a hospital? We think we have carbon monoxide poisoning." And so we call like an ambulance. But like all the 911 heard is like, they're at the Hilton Garden Inn and there's a carbon monoxide leak, and the entire area fire departments showed up in force. Like, it was nuts.
They
evacuated. Yep.
Tens of thousands of dollars in for taxpayer money.
Yes.
because
yes.
somebody misheard the phone call.
Yes. Like, hey, we just need to find out, because we were trying to find a hospital, and it was pre-Google, we just couldn't find a hospital. It was like payphone times, no cell phones. And yeah, so we ended up like having the entire Hilton, whatever it was, the DoubleTree, whatever. It was a giant hotel. And they had everyone's out on the lawn. Like, what the fuck is going on? And it's just like, it was really bad. So that wasn't great.
No.
But that wasn't really necessary. I mean, the gig wasn't good. The gig didn't happen. We just pieced out of there. I can't think of like an actual gig experience that is really worse than what you had.
How about we played with Black Rebel Motorcycle Club at the Asylum. Is this ringing a bell?
Yes. 100%.
And during their sound check, their stage production guy had a smoke machine going, or started to, and somebody at the Asylum was like, you can't run the smoke machine in here, because there's like a couple different formulas that smoke machines use, and one of them, I can't remember which one it is, but has something in it that often sets off smoke alarms.
One's oil-based, one's water-based.
That is it. Yeah, and they were using the set off the fire alarm kind. And so I think they were like, okay, fine. We played our set, which was great, actually, as
to a sold-out room.
And then they got going, and they were like maybe like second or third song in, and the fire alarms went off. They had to have everybody leave the venue, like all the fire trucks pulled up. And it was just like, at that point, we're just like, we need to get our stuff out of there and get out of here, like ASAP.
Yeah, I mean, that was bad for them.
Yeah.
It was fine for us, because we played a really tight set in front of a sold-out room. That went
exactly,
really well for us.
We really got the benefit of that show.
Yeah, I know. Poor those guys. I mean, they ended up going back and like maybe finishing it.
Yeah.
We had one time, the Clash of the Titans is a series I used to do, where Portland used to do, really, but like I would host it at various venues, and I'd moved it from one venue to another venue because of some malfeasance. And we were doing Sesame Street versus something else really fun. The music of Sesame Street versus the music of like Disney, I think, maybe. Something like that.
I missed this one, and now I'm sad.
Oh, it was super fun. And like everyone was in it to win it. There were costumes, like, like metaphorical costumes, like the person all in yellow who represented Big Bird, that kind of thing. And the music was just so good, and everyone was having like, I mean, imagine like a bunch of like beer drinking grown-ups like singing along to like, Sesame Street songs and stuff. It's pretty great. And then a representative from the venue in question came up to that place and pulled the fire alarm on us because it was their intention to destroy our show. Wow. And we actually found out, like, this isn't an assumption. We found out, like, no, that was actually like a thing that was like done, which is lame. But like, so the whole sold out crowd is crazy fun. Everyone spills out into the streets. And what happened, instead of ruining the show, the street is now flooded with like 300 people going, mana, do, 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 do. Mana, do, 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 do. Like, it was like with the police, like the fire, like the lights and everything. Yeah,
that sounds pretty glorious.
Yeah, it was shitty, but it ended up being pretty glorious.
Do you remember the one tour we did? I guess it was more of a run than a tour. We had maybe 5 or 6 shows with the band
on the way down to South by Southwest.
And that's a different story actually than where I was going.
Fine.
I was going to go the one band that we spent 5 or 6 shows with, and their crowd fucking hated us. Like, it was I think maybe the only time in our run out on the road where, like, I mean, sure, we had plenty of like disinterest at times.
Sure.
But this was the only run where like the crowd actively was just like, I hate you guys, get off the stage right now.
It's not ringing a bell.
It was Flogging Molly, I believe.
Oh, yeah. Yes. And I remember that.
Every show, the 3 or 4 shows that we did with them, it may have been more than that. It was like maybe up to 6 shows, and every single show is like at least 3/4 of the crowd is just like, boo! boo, you suck.
Yeah, it was a big crowd too.
Yeah.
And Flogging Molly, if you don't remember them, their song goes like this. And we fight and we fight and we fuck and we fuck and we punch and we punch and we fight and we drink and we fuck and we fight and we fuck and we fight and we punch and we fight and we fuck and we drink.
Except for they were like sweethearts, so they were like constantly like, oh, I'm so sorry, it's tough for you out there.
100%.
Like, yeah, sure you are. It makes you guys look so awesome to get
But
up
we
after
came
a
out,
band. that
yeah, right.
Your audience
Yeah,
hates.
we know what you're doing.
Yeah.
I'm Irish. I'm going to call this out. Like, I know what's happening here. Bring along a band. We're like, toot, toot, beep, beep. Everybody loves the sunshine. That's our set. Yeah. And then fucking and fighting and fighting and fucking and fighting and fighting and fighting and drinking. And it's like, okay. Like, cool. Hey, I'm going to just like smoke a doob and listen to some Flogging Molly. The name of the band is Hitting Somebody Named Molly.
Yeah.
So that's cool. I'm not sure
I've
which
heard
one of
a
the
rumor.
geniuses in our admin came up with that pairing.
Yeah. I've heard a rumor that they're named after, there's a venue in Los Angeles called Molly Malone's, and I've heard that they used to play there all the time, and that's where they... But I don't know. I mean, it must be true, because it's not like I looked it up on the internet. I think somebody just said it when I was playing a gig at Molly Malone's at one point. So
Flogging Molly used to play here.
Exactly. And it's like that.
Yeah, no, I do remember those gigs.
It just seemed like if you were gonna to lie about something like that, you would be like, you know, oh, Bad Company started here. Or something.
Yeah, something good.
Yeah. So,
Yeah, Molly Hatchet would be an upgrade.
yeah.
Maybe. I don't know. No, actually not an upgrade. So if you're from Flogging Molly in the band and you're listening to this, like, thanks for being kind. Also, we know what you were doing. Yeah. And B, your crowd are a bunch of dickholes.
Also, if you're in Flogging Molly or a representative of any of the venues that we've possibly talked bad about, welcome to Talking Smack with Spencer and Zach.
Talking Smack with Spencer Zach.
And
we
we're
have
back.
a new season.
Talking Smack.
We're back talking Smack with Spencer Zach. We have a new season coming up soon, so there might be a brand change.
Yeah.
And also, what was the name of the place you played? Fart, dump,
Fart,
cum.
dump, run. I don't know. Suck, bang, blow.
Suck. If anyone from Suck, Bang, Blow is insulted, our most sincere apologies for saying disparaging words about your venue. Suck, Bang, Blow.
And hopefully I haven't given away too many accurate details about where I'm located these days, because there's some scary looking people in there.
Yeah.
I don't want to face the wrath.
I don't think that they would bother coming up here. I think that we would make them catch on fire with our masks.
That's true.
I ain't going up there. He ain't worth it. Let's go back to Suck, Bang, Blow for a cum burger.
It's a top selling menu item.
Yep. I'll take the butt fuck wings. What? Anyway, it's fucking American bullshit. So I might have a closer for us. Okay. Although your opener should have been the closer.
Well, you're the editor, so you could do that if you want.
Well, yeah, whatever. So this predates us, but I know that you've heard the story before because it was horrifying. But there was a period I was in a band before I was in a band with Zach called Rustic Overtones, who were heavily influenced by, at that point, modern hip hop and historic hip hop as well. It's like we were just fans of the genre, like heavily influenced by it. Listened to it all the time in the van, and I think it was one of those things where you might like I'm a really big fan of country music, right? Like old school, like Willie, Waylon, Johnny, right? I love this shit. But I just also think that if I went to play my music, for even as much as I love them, their crowd might not like what I do. And so I think that there was like a delusion amongst the group that because we love, study our students of, and celebrate hip-hop music, that fans of hip-hop would in any way be interested in hearing 7 white guys with a toot toot honk honk horn section play some kind of like medium little ska in there. There's some ska in there, you know, like that doesn't, you know, I don't know. I always felt like, no, but I don't feel like that crowd will like us. Yeah. You know, though we, you know, like we had like a broad musical palette. We listened to all kinds of music, which is one thing I liked about that group, because there's like so many different kinds of people in that group, right? As far as like influences are concerned, you had this like melting pot of like lots of things came in to the tape deck and left with it and were never played again. But like if it's stuck, it usually meant it's pretty good. Mm-hmm. So I like that about the group. But as I said, I feel like there was this delusion of not grandeur, but like, oh, because we like hip hop likes us. Mm-hmm. We played at Orono at the Bumstock Field. So it's like this big athletic field. Bumstock was this annual event. If I remember correctly, we played the last Bumstock.
That's right. And we had a glorious show.
Because of what happened. What's that?
I said we had a glorious show when
was
we
that
played
again?
Bumstock.
Yeah, we did. It was a much different Bumstock, a much more subdued event. We did have a glorious show there. But prior to that, Rustic had set up, and we were the first band. Nope. We were not the first band. We shared a stage with Mixmaster Mike, who's awesome, Chaw Claire, Ghostface Killa, and I'm missing a couple people. And then we went on after Ghostface Killa, and as we're playing our screechy, abrasive set of rock music, the crowd becomes aware, while they hate us already, that the headliners, who are Method Man and Redman, who we were very excited to see, mm-hmm. would not be joining us that night. They had canceled. And the crowd went from no thanks to riotous fuck you in very, very short time. It's like hard to get a whole group of people motivated to move in one direction. I mean, look at the pandemic and masking and stuff. It's like, yeah. But this group was on the same page in that they very much did not enjoy the music we were making. I don't know who the fuck booked that show and said, like, yes, Rustic Overtones will be very good before Method Man and Redman and right after Ghostface Killa from the Wu-Tang Clan. Nope. No. So they cancel. The crowd is now pissed, and somebody starts by throwing change. And then it graduates to lighters. And then it graduates to hunks of grass. And when they ran out of grass, it was balls of mud. And when they came across rocks, Jones, rocks.
Wow.
I looked up just in time as this giant, like a softball-sized rock was hurtling towards my head, and I went, to the left, and it went by. I was kind of like George Bush when that dude threw the shoe at him.
Oh, yeah.
I was like, woo.
George Bush dodged 2 shoes.
He did.
It's actually the most amazing thing he did as president.
It was one of the shining moments. Yeah. Even though it's fair to say he had the shoe coming. And it's fair to say that we had the rock coming.
I mean, a shoe was probably less deadly than a rock, but
it would have absolutely smashed my face open and my brain would have been on the stage. Like, that's the thing about that. If that had hit me in the face, I don't know if the person who fucking threw that rock considered that if that thing connected with my face at that velocity and that distance, that if it had hit me in my face where it was going to hit me square in the middle of the face. It would have caved my entire front of my face in, probably destroying my nasal passages, rendering me blind, likely in both eyes, and my brain would have been out. And that's a fucked up thing.
Yes, it is.
That's a fucked up thing to do to people. Like, I get it. Like, don't get me wrong. There's some bands I do not like. Their music makes me very angry. Mm-hmm. But to like throw shit at people, and it was fucked up. It was very scary. It was actually like, it was really like a dark moment.
That would make me forever nervous to get on stage, or it would at least take me a long time to get past it if I had that close of an encounter.
Mm-hmm. I remember looking at one of my bandmates and saying, "So, do you still think that we're a hip hop band?" Or
yeah, or is the mud all over your instrument?
Oh, everywhere, mud everywhere. The singer had a megaphone he was singing with, and granted, like, we did that thing too. Like, once they started hating, we dug in more.
Yeah,
that thing. But that time it did not work out, and we are very, very, very lucky that nobody got injured, let alone seriously injured. So now I really wish we could close on yours, because my story is really dark. But I guess if there's one takeaway from my story that I think we can all feel good about, is that live music's back, baby.
That's right. We got lots of rock throwing and suck bang blowing ahead of us.
Wow, you're on fire today. Sounds like somebody came home and had a bowl of Wheaties. Well, thanks for listening. We'll catch y'all next time.
Until next week.
Baby.
SAZETU is brought to you by Maine Spirits. Learn more about the spirits we bring into the state of Maine at mainspirits.com, and what to do with them by downloading their app for your smartphone, or visit them on Instagram at Maine_spirits. Promotional consideration provided by State Theatre Portland. Learn more at statetheatreportland.com. And Sun Tiki Studios. Learn more at suntikistudios.com.